Yeah, they used to have the
Yeah, and
Kodo, but you could play around it to a degree, right? Or at
I
least
mean, 2 attack is,
mhm, 3 attack.
and also, let's see, Paladin didn't really have a 6 drop before, right? Like Warrior has like just cars, so 6, whereas some kind of control Dragon Paladin deck, you just don't really have anything on 6. So gaining Bookworm is so huge.
That's true. Okay, next let's talk about the Warlock deck. Obviously, a lot of people looking forward to seeing the new discard decks with Malkazar, Imp. Let's
Heck
bring it
yeah.
up. Where is it? Here we go. And a lot of people are just basically saying that it's the last piece. Like right now, it's not that strong, just because you don't really have enough value from adding these discard and the scenarios where it works out perfectly with silverware and things like that is I don't know, it's definitely not that much higher than 50% in my opinion. So having that Malkazar Imp just be another situation where discard you get a benefit from discard makes a huge difference. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. So the Angry Chicken obviously is going to be replaced by Malkazar's Imp. But what are some of the other ones? So I see a Darkshire Librarian in this. This is a zoo deck, by the way.
Yeah, that one's sketchy. I don't know if the Darkshire Librarian belongs, but it's like interesting to try it out. It's just another discard enabler to go with Malkazar's Imp, and it's good if you have an empty hand. It's good with the Silverware Golem, that kind of thing.
It's insane actually with the Imp. Like it's disgusting with.
Yeah, if you get any of those synergies to work, it's great. But if you don't get any of those synergies to work, you have a 2-mana 3/2 that might awkwardly discard the way you don't want it to work.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And like, what if you just don't get that card? Like sometimes you just down a card at the end of the game. You never get that Death Rattle draw card. Because sometimes the thing survives. Now, how unhappy are you if your 2-mana 3/2 survives the whole game and gets to just keep doing 3 damage a turn? You're probably pretty happy about that overall, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, some kind of discards you along these lines. Demon Fire, I think, one of the more interesting cards. Like Malkazar's Imp, it's a demon, so all of a sudden you have Flame Imp and the Imp and Voidwalker on one that are all demons that you can curve into a turn 2 Demon Fire for a value trade. So it's like very threatening. I go turn 1, 1/3. You go turn 1, Tunnel Trog. I Demon Fire my guy and trade in. I've not only killed your Tunnel Trog, but I've left myself with like a really large guy. It's just like a decisive advantage on turn 2 if you can get that kind of gameplay to happen. Now, it's not going to work as well against Argent Squire because that guy's got Defiant Shield, so he still sticks around. Can't value trade into him the same way. He's really popular for that kind of reason, but Demon Fire might just be good with the addition of this Malkazar's Imp as a third.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the buff portion of it, because the good thing about it is the flexibility. There's a 3/2 on board, and you need to use it as removal to protect your board. It's great.
Yeah.
So you can just ignore the 3/2 with your board instead of doing what Zoo usually does in trade. You can just kill it outright and keep going phase.
Yeah.
Or making other value trades. And if I look at it and compare it to like Mark of Yasharj, because you have life tap, the draw might be not as impactful in Warlock. If you're planning on cycling with the Malkazar's Imp as well, maybe it's also less impactful. I just love that the deck runs Soulfires. It's like it's going all in at some point, and it's not a very far away all in with this type of deck. I think like you have to push pretty aggressively. So I wonder if you curve out like at the top end, you remove an Argus, put in maybe a Leroy, just go full face.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy do you have to get? The Librarian again being that flex spot we're not sure about.
Yep. And there's also questions about like, do you want the Councilman in this deck? Do you want is Knife Juggler correct? Is it maybe somehow better to play Flame Juggler in the deck? Probably not.
Or Powers.
You could play both. Yeah, Power Overwhelming is a card that's not in the deck that could be. I assume that you just wanted to replace the Power with the Soulfire is like my kind of starting point. They're both sort of 1 mana 4 damage cards. You don't want too many of those because they clog up your hand. And like Power Overwhelming goes badly with the whole discard theme, right? Because the discard theme goes better if you hand dump, and Power Overwhelming is a card that has to sit in your hand for several turns to find the right one to play it when you have a 1/1 and they have a 5/5 or whatever, right? Like, whereas everything else is just if you just have as many like dudes that you can play and dump your hand, then that's going to make your turn 5 Doomguard that's discarding nothing like happen a little bit more often.
Yeah, oh, man. So here's how you modify the deck. If you want to hand dump, did you cut the Arguses? You just shove in like Wrath Guards.
Wrath Guard.
It was like you just shove in Wrath Guard instead of maybe Darkshire. I mean, that's a spot like you can toy around with a bit.
Yeah.
It's all about whether what's the fine balance to strike where you want discard synergy. I mean, I think even without even playing Silverware Golem, even without playing Demon Fire, like Zoo would still play the Malkazar's Imp. Like it doesn't matter how deep you go in that synergy. but that's going to be something that people are going to toy around with, because I think the appeal of the discard themed warlock is huge, and the potential upsides of the tempo swings is just, it's nuts. Like if you ever get a silverware out of an early discard and you're Zoo, yeah, you're pretty much racing to the finish line.
Yeah, or the Doomguard play. The Doomguard play is always like extremely powerful with
Yeah.
silverware. You just get 5/7 and a 3/3 in one play. That's pretty damn good.
Coin Doomguard pitching 2 silver golems. I've done it. I've done it.
And
You've done it? Oh man,
Yeah.
that is the dream.
I tweeted that one. It's a nice moment.
That's nice. That's for sure. So,
PTSD.
how do you think this compares just to the most powerful version of Zoo that we have right now? Is it much better?
I imagine the best list of Zoo will be playing 2 Soulfire, 2 Doomguard, and Malchezaar's Imp.
Sure.
And 2 Silverware Column. I don't know what the rest of the deck looks like exactly, but something like that is probably going to be the best version of Zoo.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what most people have said. Like, you'll run a bit of discard, but like you won't start putting in Succubi or Tiny Knight of Evil. Like, it's just not a thing. It's not good enough.
Just not going too crazy with it.
The cards that are good in and of themselves, that are sometimes borderline, like on the cusp of being an inclusion, those are the ones you just smash and put in this deck.
Yeah.
So Demon Fire and Librarian are pretty unlikely to make the cut, but it's possible. It's like maybe one Demon Fire could be.
I like the one.
I
Demon
like
Fire
Demon
plan.
Fire, man. it's
I
always...
really love the card conceptually, but it was never supported well enough. So.
Well, it's just there's just been better cards at 2. Yeah, that's the problem. And
Dark Bomb.
Dark Bomb, right? But it's always been just barely off the cusp, and maybe just the inclusion of more demons could make it, at least 1-drops could make it something. I remember back in the day, like back in beta, whenever you just put that Demon Fire on the Voidwalker, and it was just such a great start. Haven't seen that in a long time though.
Heck yeah!
Well, you had Blood Imp back then, so you could literally do anything.
Oh, Blood Imp! Oh my god!
You could literally play any 1 to 2 cost cards in Zoo and probably win. Just Blood Imp. Like that's how.
What was the old Blood Imp? I can't remember. Was it like a
1-mana 1/1 with stealth that basically everything +1 health?
Everything with +1 health while it's alive, so swipe wouldn't work. And
imagine that in today's world where everyone's just like swipe ravaging ghoul.
Yeah,
it would still it would absolutely trash everyone.
It would seriously trash everybody. All right, so let's talk about let's go back to Paladin. Actually, I forgot that Noxious had a Menagerie Paladin to talk about here, which is you alluded to with the Zoobots and everything, and I'm excited to see this because I haven't gotten a chance to play this type of Paladin yet. Where is it? Let me see. Let me bring it up. Hold on. Here we go.
Yep. All right, so this is a Menagerie Paladin, which of course means we're trying to go for the whole Beast, Dragon, and Murloc synergy. Again, I love Curator. Fault me for that, but I just love it. And at first I thought, the deck wasn't going to work at all. I thought Midrange Paladin was forever dead after Quartermaster and Muster were gone and Minibot. But it turns out this deck's actually not half as bad as I thought. So I run double Vilefin Inquisitor with one of Murloc Knight as the Murlocs in the deck. Double Huge Toad and 1 Kodo for the Beast, and then just 2 Fairy Dragons. Like the bulk of it is really dragon heavy, so 2 Fairy Dragons, Azure Drake as a 1-of, double Consort. So those are kind of with the Twilight Guardians on 4. Those are kind of the dragon centric. It's kind of a dragon centric deck. Blackwing Tech is a card I want to play in the deck, but I think it would have to take the slot of Murloc Knight or Rallying Blade. Maybe keep her as a 1-of, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of modifications that can be made to the shell. But the idea is you play Nightbane Templar, get a bunch of whelps, trade them as efficiently as you can. You always have a Murloc in play for the Zoobot or Menagerie Magician. You play 2 of each, and eventually you'll just buff 1 or 2 minions with +2/+2, possibly 3 if you get lucky. And then they're hard to push off the board. It's just pretty difficult. I mean, Druid just doesn't push off a Twilight Guardian easily. So if you buff that Twilight Guardian up as a 5/8, suddenly, suddenly
that's
disaster.
nasty.
So that's kind of the idea. Of course, you play Tyrion at the top end like everything else.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, bro. You gotta play those OP cards while you still can.
Well, Tyrion's not going anywhere. What are you talking about?
I truly hope at some point he does. I just
please go away. Yeah.
Paladin, please leave.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this type of deck, with the Zubat and the Magician, I think is pretty curious. Again, it's one of those curating deck building exercises. If you can optimize curator and still, make for a very powerful deck around it. So this is pretty cool. What do you think about this, Zalae?
Yeah, I mean I haven't tried these Zubat decks out yet, so I don't know what to say. I like. I think Blackwing Corruptor is a card that comes to mind. Like if I'm playing Dragons, I would fit that card in. But I see that we're not really building around like a high number of dragons, so I can see how maybe it's not quite supported.
Right.
But yeah, the deck does some sweet things. It does a lot of good things with Curator. And I've heard that Zubat's sort of like better than expected. The Vilephan Inquisitor makes it so that your hero power is making a guy that can actually be buffed by the Zubat. That's pretty cool. I don't know. It's an interesting deck. I haven't tried it yet.
All right. Well,
I feel like Tyrion should be a 5/5 off topic, but like
5/5.
that card needs
Wow.
Make it a 5/3. Make
At
him
an
his
8?
weapon.
Oh, you mean
literally,
second
like,
6? Okay, yeah.
I don't want to ruin it. Just knock it down a notch.
Yeah.
You know, a 6/6. No, 5/5.
Yeah, why are you killing literally
That's not much.
everything? Yeah.
It's a lot. A 1/1 debuff is like a big change. Like it would still be like a really powerful card, I think, but
Still be
it'd just be like
played,
a little bit less.
sure.
It's like
miserable.
Emperor as a 4/4. You know, that's how much of a difference it makes. I guess Priest cries,
Well,
but everybody else
that's-
rejoices.
I think Emperor as a 4/4 is a bigger nerf to Emperor than Tyrion from 6/6 to 5/5 because
Agreed.
like Emperor has like so much value if it sticks around, so your opponent has to kill it. So like, whereas Tyrion's sort of the opposite, where you really don't have to kill a Tyrion because you're still getting smacked for 5 by an Ashbringer if you succeed in killing it. You can kind of ignore Tyrion, so if he's easier to kill, it doesn't really matter as much. But
When he deals
Emperor,
more
if
damage
it's
than the
smaller,
weapon, it's like,
dramatically more beatable.
yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
and he's got Divine Shield too. On top of that, and Taunt, right?
God, he's a jerk.
He's just so strong. Okay, well, that's going to be. I think that's the last deck that we have today. We had quite a few. Hopefully, you guys out there can give some of these a try. I'll have the notes available on I guess moving forward. I'll have the link to the notes with all the links to the decks available on the website for the post on the website for the show. So you can always just go there if you're listening on audio or whatnot. But we're gonna move on to Mekkatorque's workshop in just a sec. But I did want to give a quick shout out to just some of the iTunes folks that have left a 5-star review and a nice review. Exo Miato and JadoCast. Thanks so much for doing that. And if you guys do listen to the Value Town on iTunes or Android, Google Podcasts, be sure to leave a review. Leave a 5-star review and a nice little message. It really helps out the show and helps other people on iTunes find the show whenever they're looking for Hearthstone podcasts. Okay, so let's talk about cards now. We're going to do Mekkatorque's Workshop, where for those of you that maybe never are tuning in for the first time and never seen our segment, this is where we come up with our own cards that maybe presents a new concept, or maybe it's just a card that fits into what the type of archetypes and models that we see now that we think that could help out the metagame or whatnot. Mostly those are conceptual cards more than anything, at least today. So why don't we start off with I can't help it. We gotta start with Bronk the Chickenizer. This is Noxious's this card. This is awesome. I have to start with that card, man. Then. Okay, let me find it first. Here he is. Okay, here we go. All right. I'm a dessert guy first, so this
should have been probably the last card we talked about since it's so like out of this world crazy.
I can't help it, man.
But I just wanted to make a fun card. So Bronk the Chickenizer is a gnome engineer, kind of like Recombobulator, Tinkmaster, Overspark. You get the gist of it.
Yeah.
5 mana, 5/5. So he's got Elite Torrent Chieftain stats. Battlecry. Transform all minions in your deck and hand into random beasts. So the idea is that you could get anything ranging from an angry chicken all the way up to King Crush, but it literally makes your entire deck unpredictable. Now, am I saying
dude? Yes.
No, but what I'm saying is this is the type of card that casual players would enjoy, and I don't think it pushes like power level wise into competitive the competitive scene. And as a side note, that's kind of one of those things. Like that's an example of a card I think that does RNG well, because it's not something a player would play in their competitive deck necessarily.
I think you could make this 4 mana. I'd be kind of.
I
I
mean,
think if somebody beat me with this card at 4 mana, I might be happy for him.
but you get the
bow
idea,
down to
right?
the
It's like it's
guy.
RNG.
Yes.
It's RNG, but it's not like powerful. It's not gonna be a Barnes. It's gonna be absolutely fucking
Yeah.
hilarious
Yes, of
if the
course.
guy like beats you with whatever follows up. But it's RNG at a cost and stat line and effect that just doesn't bother you much. It's like, yeah,
It feels
like
kind of
playing
like
this.
Monkey, like Golden Monkey in a way, and I think Golden
Sure.
Monkey, a lot of people
Yeah.
are okay, I haven't been that angry about Golden Monkey and how the fact that it gives you random legends. So yeah, I think this card would be completely fine. I don't think people would be
Also-
angry at this card at all.
Just like one of the best things about this card is just the name, Bronk the Chicken.
That's
It's
right.
like, oh my god, nailed it. That's such a good
Exactly.
Well done.
Exactly, man.
I really searched. I was like, okay, Fizzbrittle, like Master Recombobulator, Fizzle Drink or something. I'm like, nah, man, it's got to be like really
Yes.
short and to the point. I'm like, all right, one syllable, Bronk. All right, what does he do? Turns your shit into chicken. There we go, Chickenizer.
Oh,
It seemed
God.
perfect. So Bronk the Chickenizer is
All
your
right,
new
that's
overlord.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. All right, next up we've got another card from Noxious here, a Nerubian Broodlord, which is a rogue card. Actually, I didn't actually read out the Chickenizer. It's a 5/5 drop, 5/5 body, battle cry, transform all minions in your deck, and hand into random beasts. So just for those of you listening on audio. The next one is a 3 mana, 3/4 body rogue card, Nerubian Broodlord, epic. At the end of each turn, shuffle a Nerubian in your opponent's deck. All right.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a feels bad RNG card because this could be competitive. I don't think
Yeah.
it is, but it's like it's a spider tank with upside, right? So
Yeah.
you're kind of pushing the edge there. It's an interesting card. It's
It was
kind
a
of cool.
3/3
I
at
like
first.
I like the thought of it.
At first, it was a 3/3 that did it at the end of your turn only. So it was like really, really weak compared to because right now it's each turn, so it's like your opponent's turn as well. They let it live while you get another one.
Yeah, it
so
gets
you
really
just keep
punishing.
stacking more and more Nerubians. So
Put it behind a taunt so it
yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
die.
it probably
Yeah.
would have. Yeah, like the concept of it was basically I want Mill Rogue to have something playable that isn't something you have to combo or heal with.
Okay.
And this is, it fits in a deck that tries to not mill because it doesn't make you mill, but it makes cards that like the archetype of rogue where they play it a bit slower and don't mind if both players draw. It makes that deck a little bit more interesting.
I don't know if Milrogue plays this. I just want to live and draw Cold Light Oracle.
Yeah, I know, but like the idea is that you can play like a hybrid mill list. If there's ever an archetype that comes up for rogues that includes, the idea of putting Nerubians in your opponent's deck, I would love to see something like this. I think it would be pretty cool if rogues eventually got some kind of play around with your opponent's deck. With Nerubian, with the Beneath the Grounds and whatnot. I thought it was a pretty cool concept, but it never got expanded upon. And
It's funny. Twitch
What's up?
chat's spamming OP right now, but I think this card wouldn't see play.
I think it wouldn't see play as
I
the
don't
like
think so either.
as of the current existing card pool. Like if we get more shit to support it, sure. But as it stands, I don't know that I play that. It's just one of those extra tools that makes a temple rogue revolving around Nerubians interesting. Like there's a lot of things you can develop around that. There's a ton of it. Like you could have a card that literally does, unearth, like an 8-cost card that says unearth all the Nerubians in both players' decks, and then your board just fills up. It's like there's so many things you can do with the concept, but it's not been played with by Blizzard. So it's just another one of those Nerubian cards aesthetically.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Next up, I have a card that I came up with, which is generally the concept of DOT. So I've had a couple cards in the past that were just like a single target DOT. This one's more of a AOE DOT that's initialized by killing a minion, like the poison egg here. So
And
the poison
DOT is damage over time.
Yeah, damage over time. So this card is a 2-mana drop, 0/2. It's a neutral card. It's a common card, sorry. And Death Rattle casts Poison Cloud. And the only reason I did this is just because of wording. So Poison Cloud is actually a spell that's along the lines of a spare part, or mainly a spare part. So it's a 3-mana Poison Cloud. Deal 1 damage to enemies on battlefield at the end of every turn. So the Poison Egg just casts it, so you don't have to worry about the mana cost. But I had to give it something. So if it were somehow to be put in your hand, in future Hearthstone, archetypes or design. But yeah, so the general concept is you kill the poison egg, it just splatters poison, or maybe there's a poison cloud that shows up, animation wise on your opponent's at least the current minions. It doesn't do it forever, just the current minions board, and then they just take 1 damage every turn from that. And the point of that is not just to have a straight board removal, but more, just have something that functions in between. There's something in between, obviously not killing something and then having board removal straight. And it can help out, like, I don't know, classes that don't have great board removal without just giving them straight board removal at the same time. You know what I mean? So another thing too is that I made it like a 0/2 just so that you couldn't ping it. You couldn't be like a maid and just ping this thing and then cause it to happen. You still have to spend something, like another spell.
Brawl.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, that's not what you want.
Not even brawl. But it'd be like
Hellfire.
backstab or I don't even
Demon
know.
Wrath.
Hellfire
man.
could work too, yeah.
Demon Wrath is sick actually with this, man. Like you Kevin
Demon
Reno,
Wrath?
There we
drop
go.
this
Yeah.
Demon Wrath, and then everything just dies.
That's true.
eventually.
Yeah,
Corrupted
yeah.
everything.
Exactly.
So the poison cloud, it's just on the minions that are on board. It's not
Yeah,
for the
not
rest of the
at the
game.
time
not for
of the death
future
battle,
ones.
yeah.
Only the so
Okay.
it just the animation should literally just like throw poison on top of
So-
the guys on the board.
If we had to reword the effect to be clear, it would read something like: give every minion on every enemy minion on board at the end of every turn, take 1 damage.
Yeah,
So it's a debuff
it's
you put on a
tricky.
minion specifically. It's not
Yeah.
like an effect that's permanently on the opposing side of the board, because that would of course be completely
Yeah,
busted.
it would literally be like an effect on each of those minions, which we don't have anything like that right now. That's why this wording is tricky because there's no
I like the
precedent.
idea.
Yeah.
I like at the end of every turn, it's kind of interesting. So, like, I play this card, it kills off all the 1 health stuff. Then the 2 health stuff dies at the end of their turn.
Yep.
3 health stuff dies at the end of my next turn, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
A lot of competitive Hearthstone is like, you try really hard to kill it right now, and if you can't kill it right now, then you ignore it.
Yep.
Because, like, it's kind of like, the reason things are that way is just to sort of, like, play around the chaos factor of, like, so much stuff can happen. Like, if you're not killing it now, setting up to kill it just gets played around in some fashion.
Yeah.
And this sort of, you're attempting to do something different where you're not killing it now and you are setting up to kill it eventually. kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And can you
It's kind of like
imagine
when
if
you
you
see a.
Oh, go
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can you imagine playing against a shaman where he's got a heal totem, you get like an Orshar cleric or something like that? It could be pretty crazy. Where you
Oh
just,
my God, the amount of draw.
yeah,
That's pretty
some
nuts.
shit like that. Yeah,
But I mean, what I like about the concept is, there used to be a time where you could afford doing this, no longer, but you could hero power down as a druid and minion to set up a swipe.
Yeah.
Right now, if you do that, you're probably dead. But there was a time where the metagame was slow enough and the minions were small enough that was an option. And this is kind of how you'd play the card, right? Like as you said, you set it up over 2 to 3 turns, create board clear setups. It's not really a setup, which I love, and I think that's the type of effect that's maybe missing to add, like, small decision makings. Like a lead up to a massive finish that isn't kill the opponent, is clear the board and stabilize, as opposed to, win the game right away. So I love
Right.
that. I really do.
Okay, let's see. The next one I have this is really playing off of the chess boss, and there's already a keyword that was established in the chess boss, in the first wing of 1/9 Karazhan, and it's the auto attack. So this is a 3 mana 3/5 body sieging catapult auto attack. Deal 3 damage to the enemies opposite this minion, and why we should just bring this whole positioning thing to the game, like right now. Like I don't
Yes.
feel like there's any reason to just keep it to adventure mode and PvE type of thing. This is cool. Like, just
Yeah.
positioning the minions, having something just auto attack. I had to give it a bigger body than our typical 4/5 because it's auto attack. We can't deal, we can't
But it's
choose what to
yeah,
deal.
but
So does
Right.
auto
Right.
attack
Right.
replace the attack it gets during the turn? Like it doesn't attack
Yeah,
during the
it
turn?
can't attack it at all.
It only
It's,
auto
yeah,
attacks.
it's like a static minion that only auto attacks with
So the
its
3
own-
attack it has is only for when it's being attacked or like for shadow
Yes,
or pain.
that's right. So it had,
Well, when it swings as well, right? I guess.
but
It's like the deal
oh yeah,
3
when it
damage
swings,
effect.
yeah, whatever it does 3. Well, actually, it should say just deal damage actually to the enemies because it shouldn't say 3 damage. It should just say deal damage. To
Oh,
the
so if you
enemies
boost
opposite.
up its power, it could just really nuke stuff?
I don't think it could because it's not a Mekkatorque Alpha. I think the way it's worded is it deals damage equals to the auto attack setup. So even if you make it like an 8/5, it still only deals 3 with the auto attack, and you can't use it to actually swing at things. I guess we should have
That's true.
like I mean, if you make it like if this card actually has the ability to attack, on top of its auto attack. It's
No.
like at 3 mana, it's the most broken thing
It's
we've
broken.
ever
No,
seen.
it's
Even
not meant
without
for that.
attacking,
It's
it's
not
super
meant for that.
broken at 3
Yeah,
mana.
even
This
without
is
the
broken
ability to
probably
attack.
at 5 mana without attacking.
Yeah, I agree. It's like
This is removal, right? You play it and you kill a guy. This is
Yeah.
actually extremely powerful.
Yeah.
So it needs some rebalancing, but whatever. I love the idea of bringing positioning into the game because right now positioning is 90% memes, right? Like
yeah.
you position correctly and
Yeah.
you're honestly just making a joke because it never matters. You talk about, oh yeah, they're gonna get betrayal off of their whatever that 5 mana Nexus Champion Sarad or something, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it never
God.
actually matters, but you always try and think about it just in case. It's just a meme. It'd be great if positioning mattered more.
That'd be cool, actually, if
Mhm.
they implemented a bunch of cards, even without the auto attack, that just encourage good positionings. So this type of effect, like the catapult, is a super good example of a way to bring chess into the game. Like I guess like the concept itself doesn't matter as much. I mean, the card itself doesn't matter as much as the idea of it, right? Like you just want to see that happen in Hearthstone.
Yeah, for sure. And there's been no reason for it. Positioning wise, have we had any? I mean, outside of like Flame Tongue Totem and Betrayal, anything else that's been like hugely positional based? Not really, right? I mean, it's surprising it's been this long. Like they haven't utilized that.
There must have been something we're not thinking about, but it's like Zoo always did it the same way. There's just isn't nothing really changed. Is the thing is like the same old, Forbidden Ritual. Oh sure, let's play this card here. So
Right.
it's next to the I don't know. It just doesn't matter as much.
Right. Yeah, so in the end, I think this probably should have been like, it should have been a 3/3, if anything, or maybe even less than that. But yeah, it'd be awesome to see. So Zalae, you actually, I don't have that card that you created, or at least
I did. I
Noxious
just
created for
called
it.
it.
Yeah, let me grab it real quick.
It's in the notes.
Yeah.
So I gave it a creative
I
name.
love the name of this
and I
one.
I had to come
Oh,
up
what
with
did
it in
you
a
call
second.
it? Come on, the birthing axe wasn't good enough, dude. That was an amazing name. Too.
Oh, was it Birthing Axe?
Birthing
I didn't hear
Axe,
the
dude.
name.
Birthing Axe, Birthing Hammer. I wanted
didn't
Birthing
even hear
Pod.
that.
This is good too.
I literally heard. I didn't hear the name. I heard the ability, so I had to come up with the name as well as like the art within a minute. And I was like, okay, let's just try to whip this up.
Right.
Go ahead, Zalae.
Sorry, I don't have it up on screen. Metamorphomace. Oh, that's
a good
that's
name
pretty-
too, man. That is
all right.
definitely
Whenever
good.
you attack, evolve a random friendly minion. Yeah, it's something along the lines of this.
Sure.
I would love for it to be like a Discover Evolve because basically I'm trying to reference my favorite Magic card, which is Birthing Pod, which is an artifact, which is a card type that just doesn't exist in Hearthstone, but it's like something that sits in play and is available to use every turn, but is not a creature.
Mhm.
So I thought Weapon was the closest thing I could come up with. Metamorphomace, and it sort of lets you transform one of your minions into something bigger and better every turn, do something cool. So Evolve is pretty much what it's doing, but it'd be nice if it were like a Discover Evolve, right? Like if you could like choose one of your minions, destroy it, and then discover a minion that costs one more and put that in play. That would be like ideally what
I
I
mean, my
Crazy.
Pantry Spider is a 7/7.
Yes, but like Discover, you get 3 options. Yeah, you'd have to pay a lot for the card, right? I think
Yeah.
as we have it showing, 3 mana 1/3. Whenever you attack, evolve a random friendly minion. It's probably not going to see play because it's like
As
you're
the
getting,
random effect, it's probably very bad.
Yeah.
But if you want to make it Discovery, you'd probably have to go up. Kind of like Medivh's weapon.
yeah,
right?
maybe it's
High
like
level
4
wise.
mana with Discover and like 2
Right.
mana without or something.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my
Um,
gosh, discovering.
But that's the idea. I just want to play Birthing Pod in Hearthstone. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
You've been trying really hard to make Evolve, like Shaman, more consistent.
Oh,
Like, at
God,
some point, you
Evolve.
roll dice, dude. At some point, you roll the dice. You just gotta hope.
It doesn't go well for me.
Yeah, dude. After last episode, I immediately started playing the Evolve deck again, and it was just like, oh man, just getting owned in that aggro meta right now. It was really, really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, just sum this up. Metamorphomace. It's a 3 mana, 1 damage, 3 durability, and it's a shaman weapon. And it's epic too. So really cool. Yeah, Evolve is so fun though. I've definitely been having a good time. I never get the dream of like Barnes into something just crazy amazing. Barnes actually summoning something huge and then getting the Evolve after that. But hopefully I'll get one of these days. Definitely. Okay, well, that's going to be it for Mekkatorque's workshop this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the cards, and we're going to do Q&A now. So I've got a few questions on Twitter already, but if you guys haven't tweeted your questions, go ahead and tweet that to me at ChanManV, or you can put some questions in the Twitch chat, and maybe one of you guys can keep an eye on Twitch chat while I'm looking on Twitter. But we do have a question here from, let's see, Ashley Butterfield. Do you think Crypt's frustration with Arena and the dominance of Mage is justified? So I don't play that much Arena right now. I don't. Do you guys play a lot of Arena right now?
I played no Arena, but my impression is that it is justified.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Crip knows what he's talking about. I mean, it's,
right. Crib's been like, I think he's played more Arena than probably just about anyone else at this point. I might be wrong. I'm sure the internal stats would tell me otherwise if Blizzard has those. But the point is, he's played a ton, and the fact that the purpose of having all the classes available would imply that at least you have a chance to make them all good. Like when I play Magic, say you're drafting, and I'm gonna go for like on a bit of a bad comparison, a bad analogy, but everybody around the table has the same pool of cards to choose from. So at some point, the power level of decks kind of evens out as people get to pick, the good cards out of packs. But in Hearthstone, because you have your own set of cards, and you get to pick the class you play, you choose it literally. Like you get to make that choice yourself. And some classes are just so much more dominant thanks to rarity, which is a nonsensical way, because it's not even about the cards being too good. It's just the rarity of the cards makes them too frequent. It makes the whole system just feel cheap because suddenly everybody's incentivized to pick the best class because the rarity of the good cards in that class is low. It's all commons all the way through. So yeah, it's hard not to see the justification there. I mean, Crib just can't be wrong. There's no way.
I've been watching a stream like recently too, especially in the last, I don't know, I'd say month or so. Crip's been much more vocal, I think, than he's ever been about Arena, and just particularly with this coming up, and even just saying like, we should just be more vocal to the devs about this stuff because they won't change it unless we do. And so I've been watching the stream a little bit more, and he plays Mage like, I don't even know how many percent, like 80 to 90% of the time, like he plays against Mage. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's actually crazy ridiculous at this point. And balancing is obviously one big thing, and Noxious just mentioned rarity. Rarity is one of those things where it's just like, I mean, I don't think rarity plays that big a factor in. I mean, it has more of an impact on Arena, in my opinion, than it does on just how we get things in packs. You know what I mean? Like taking that into account, like we automatically get one, rare in a pack, and just figuring that out, right? I feel like if they may have taken that into consideration more than the Arena game format, and that's caused the Arena game format to be in disarray at this point. Where Fireland Portal, I mean, Crip had a video that talked about just like what cards should have been common, what cards should have been rare, in some of this releases recently, and Fireland Portal is probably a perfect example. That's a common card, I believe, right now. Let me.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that.
Just egregious.
It's like why is that common? Like why?
Yeah,
like that doesn't make any sense. Don't care. Yeah. So
it's just a straight middle finger at the people playing Arena. It's just like we literally just do not care about your play experience. And like, why would you do that as a game designer? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So
it's like when Priest is the worst class and you release Purify. Like, come on, let's not. It's okay to have a worse class, but you don't have to insult the guys.
I don't give a shit if they release Purify, as long as they don't release Purify in Karazhan, where I've waited 3 months and a half for a fucking content patch, and I get literally Pompous fucking Thespian, a vanilla 2-mana 3/2 with Taunt, and Purify. Like, what am I why do I even fucking bother? Like, it just seems so ridiculous to me that they would not put more consideration in where the cards are being released and the rarity. Like, who came up with like Sea Reaver? You remember that 6-mana 6/7 epic?
Oh yeah, the one I've never seen.
The one that does damage to everybody.
Why is that an epic? Like, making it a common and a warrior suddenly have like a worse bull defense.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
I mean, I'd still rather have that than most garbage, but the idea is just, why is that an epic? How did that come up?
And right now they're probably
pretty epic if this ever sees play.
I mean, I'm not saying people will want it. I'm just like, why do I absolutely need to have it be an epic when the quality of mid-game big bombs in Arena is pretty important, even if it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take a 6-mana 6/6 over another garbage common. So yeah, I don't know.
I think it would be great if they did make some of those changes too. And if they have to give some people dust for it, then just give some people dust for it. It's like we're not talking about legends here. We're actually talking about the difference between rares and epics and commons. And if they could maybe tweak some of those, it would actually balance it out a little bit more. It won't completely balance out Arena, of course, but it'll definitely help it from the point which it's at right now, which is unreasonable. I think to the point where guys like Crip, are being very, very vocal about it. Maybe even just give incentive for people to play the other classes. Like if you play mage, you just don't get as much. Like whatever it is.
Oh my God.
I don't know, something.
What an embarrassing solution that
I don't
would be.
know.
That's the problem.
It's gotta be
They
something.
just balance it a little bit. Just mess with the rarities and it's fine. Like, what do rarities matter? Just
That's the
better
ideal.
Arena.
That's the
They
ideal.
pigeonhole themselves into a world where either like Purify, they remove it from the pool, which is, by the way, the most inelegant thing I've ever seen done.
Yeah.
Yes.
People were happy about it. I was
yeah.
like, this is a disaster. This is a design
That's embarrassing.
disaster. Like it's one of the most inelegant ways you can possibly fix it, which in my mind indicates that they're working on it. Like they're gonna make it more of a priority because there's no way they're happy with what they did with Purify. Like for them, it's a band-aid, but they can't possibly think that it's okay to not give a shit about the timing of releases and the impact on the arena. Like that was a big wake-up call, I think, and for that reason, I suspect all the complaints and the uproar is going to be answered with some kind of solution, hopefully a good one within the year or the next year, probably. But,
I'm definitely hoping that. Yeah, Purify was definitely the first time that, outside of the Cthulhu cards, this is the first time where we just don't have cards in both of the game. Like the cards aren't matching in some degree, right? Standard obviously doesn't have any of the wild stuff, but this is the first time there's an actual card that's not available in the arena that we've seen, and that's very, very.
Aren't, but there's like those are like promo cards and Merkai.
Oh, okay, the
Are
promo
they
cards.
available?
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
those
sure.
are
I
those
don't
were
think they
special
are,
edition. Those are kind of special
Yeah.
situations. So yeah, let's see. Next question, Christopher Catalog N. Whenever I play Priest on ladder now, I find myself having to kill the 900 injured Blade Masters. Is Priest better or am I unlucky? Priest is better. Like I mean, for sure.
And you're
it's
unlucky.
better. And you're unlucky.
I want to talk about that. Killing 900. Yeah. It's interesting. When you mulligan against Priest now, you really want to think about having a plan for the 900 injured Blade Masters. Specifically, I think you keep Hex against Priest, right? Like as Priest, you're just hard mulliganing for injured Blade Masters, so you can try and spam Resurrect it. Against Priest, I think you're mulliganing for Hex to try and just destroy their whole game plan, right?
Yep.
Or maybe an Aldor Peacekeeper and you leave that Blade Master alive for as long as you can. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I found just leaving it alive has been the most effective strategy against me when I'm playing Priest. Like I'm sitting on Resurrect, I'm sitting on Onyx Bishop, and I can't do anything with those guys the Priest deck revolves around just that curving of Resurrect. So yeah, Hex is just crazy bad for Priest. And,
yeah, I mean, mages deal with it. Like they have
polymorph.
Like I feel like one of the things that I've done with Injured Blade Master, depending on the class you're playing, is ignore it. Sounds kind of like shitty advice, but
no,
it's like if they want to use 2 of their mana every turn to heal up the Blade Master while you're doing more, maybe it can be acceptable. But again, it's like if you don't Aldor it, that thing's gonna keep chipping away at your board forever. What I try to do, depending on the class, like with Warrior, what I do is just force them to spam them all to get a good brawl. Just remove the first, get them to use the second, get them to use the third, get an Onyx Bishop in, and eventually I get a decent brawl, and then you can restabilize. The problem that I have with Resurrect is when they start nailing the late game legendaries. Like when they're playing patiently and they don't spam it in the mid game, and then they either get the injured or they just start getting Ysera's and Sylvanas.
Yeah.
Like that's what I just get. Like when Sylvanas comes back from a Resurrect, like I just absolutely flip my shit. Like every single deck came down to those little RNG moments, and the Priest with Resurrect, even though it's a consistent thing you can plan for, sometimes just rolls the dice on it. Do I get an Onyx Bishop? Nope. Okay, I win. It's pretty tough. So I don't know. There's no good answer to it. Tinkmaster over Spark is something Warriors have teched in because of the double entomb control list. Yeah, I was amused by that, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, Resurrect is, I don't think there's really been a question that Resurrect is a really good card if built correctly around. I mean, there's no situation where Resurrect gives you less value. You know, if
Right.
anything, it gives you enormous value. I mean, getting a 4/7 for a 2, even a 3/6 that heals you every time he casts a spell, those are incredibly good plays for a 2-mana card. So right now, Priest is better for sure, but it's still not even close to a top tier deck at all. But you can get to Legend with Priest. I mean, I don't know if people, for some reason, people think you can't, but you can get there with Priest. I've definitely seen streamers do it, and other players too.
Yeah, Priest is it's a bit of a bummer.
God, you sound like somebody died, man.
Right, dude. I saw him
Before
stream
this
Priest,
release,
and
it
I
was
was
even
cheering
worse, man.
Zalae, and he was
It's
like, "Yeah, this deck's kind of okay. It's better than it used to be, but yeah, I'll just play something else."
Play some Shaman.
play some Shaman. I could
It's
play
like playing, you know, like
5
when you're
different
playing Mail
Shamans right now.
Rogue, like Mail Rogue, you're
Yeah.
just mulliganing hard for Cold Lights. Now imagine you're Priest and you're doing the same shit with Injured. That's kind of how it feels. I mean,
Yeah.
it's better than that because you have Priest of the Feast that can also carry you, but the general idea is you still need to mulligan like a god. So whenever, again, like you say, you face like 1,000 Injured Blade Masters, you ask if you're just unlucky. I think there's a good chunk of this that comes down to you getting a shit outcome, because the odds of it occurring that badly, like the guy gets double resurrect Onyx Bishop on curve, like let's be honest, it's not it's not that big. It
Yeah, and
happens,
even when
but-
Priest gets that God draw, they can still find ways to lose the brawl or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if they overcommit to it, yeah, it's you can easily lose to it, because even with this kind of value, Priest still just barely has enough minions. Like it's still not a crazy minion heavy deck. It's lots of spells still in that deck, so yeah, you get some crazy, very efficient board removal, and Priest is still in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoltan Full Desi. Do you think there is going to be a nerf before BlizzCon like last year with Patron? We talked about this a little bit already. No telling. Basically,
What would they nerf?
I don't even know.
Cortron to a 4/2. That's my guess.
I'm gonna say no. I don't think there's gonna be a nerf. I
Cortron
thought the
to a
Patron nerf
4/2?
was like,
Wow. Okay.
I don't know what they would nerf if they were gonna nerf something, so I don't see it happening. Patron, I thought was like pretty clearly really good, so I'm not shocked that they wanted to hit that one. But I expect BlizzCon to go through, with the cards as is.
With Patron, a lot of people disagreed with that nerf.
Yeah, some people
So
say
it
it's
was-
not a good deck and stuff
They
like
were
that.
wrong. They were
But-
just wrong.
Yeah,
They,
were
like,
wrong.
I can't even argue. It's like they were just wrong, flat out, absolutely, completely wrong.
Sorry.
It warped the meta. It made no. It's just you're wrong.
The deck was really good when it was played well. Most people did not play it well. Like Legend players played it really badly. I made mistakes with it constantly, even though I was an expert in it, right? So it was a really tough deck to play well, but it was really good, and it was, I'm not surprised that it got nerfed.
But that's the kind of deck that I thought we wanted in Hearthstone, right? I mean,
I certainly wanted it.
Yeah.
I
but
want.
apparently
I
the devs
still
didn't.
like Patron. I just don't
Yeah.
like the OTK component of it. I love
Yeah.
everything about it, but I don't like the OTK component of it. That was the only thing that kind of
the
irked
frothing.
me. I
Yeah,
still like
it's-
the current patron list with the double giant OTK. I love that because the OTK can be like it's not actually 50 or 60 damage.
something. Yeah.
It's like they'll deal
It's
24 to 28 possibly. But in the meantime, you both get to play cards, and you're not going to get absolutely trashed in one turn you can't prevent. So I like the current version of it better. I wouldn't nerf that, I think.
Well, I think maybe the nerf. I don't know if there is a nerf. Maybe Og. I don't know what it would. I mean, something that would has some kind of impact on the community, I would say, or just even spectating to some sort. I would guess that would be the only candidate I could think of, is changing Yogg in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, how about one or two more here? Leon, Walther, Bibby. What are you guys' all-time favorite decks? Oh man,
I know what mine is.
Favorite. Oh, I know what mine. I mean, I kind of know for mine, but okay, I know what mine is.
Mine's obviously good old Patron Warrior.
Yeah.
God bless.
God bless. All right.
Everybody who
That was
played it
great.
back then loved the deck. Like it's just
Like
one of
it
those
was
things.
such an interesting. It did like
It's math, man.
it
It's
was
a math
so
deck.
hard to play it well.
Yeah.
And you got to like plan ahead and figure stuff out. It was really cool, and it was super rewarding too. It was like if you put in the work, you will be rewarded for playing this deck. It's like so perfect in so many ways. I loved it. Patron, heck yeah. That's my answer.
Mine is the complete opposite. It's the Buzzard Unleash
Aggro
the Hounds.
Hunter? Oh,
It's the
okay.
Buzzard
Ooh.
Unleash the Hounds deck, which
You just wanted to kill people.
yeah, I kind of came up with a long time
I'm
ago, and
tilted.
that one was just whatever with the Dragonhawks, and you could win even when you didn't have the cards because you could draw into the cards, and so yeah, that was fun. That was broken, but definitely a lot of fun. How about you, Noxious?
I'm gonna be boring and say Helidin from the Nax era.
Helidin. So with
Like the
Kodos
control
and,
paladin back in Nax dramas, with the Kel'Thuzad. It was like a worse. Like the only thing it beat was Control Warrior, but that was the deck to beat. So yeah, that's still a deck I look back.
had the
fondly.
Kodos, right?
So,
Had all the
yeah,
humilities and the
it
Kodos and
had,
everything. Yeah,
it had
got
like literally every possible amount of value
it. Yeah.
to beat the warrior. Otherwise, he just completely trashed you. So you're just playing greedier than him, and at least wasn't around back then, right? So there's no like, oh, I'm gonna completely trash you with those random legendaries. It was just, all right, let's be honest. You play Rag, it's dead. You play this, it's dead. Eventually, at Tyrion, you lose. So it's one of those things. I love that deck.
Cool. All right, one more. Let's take a question from Twitch chat, actually. And one of you guys looking at Twitch chat wrote,
Somebody did ask, do you think it'd be reasonable if an entire expansion was released based around positioning? So the theme
Yeah.
of it would be positioning. That'd be pretty awesome, I think.
That'd be great.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
would leave like a lasting and interesting impact on the game, right? Like until all that stuff rotated out, you actually like it wasn't just a meme. I love positioning.
So it matters, you know, that shredder, that shredder
Shredder.
positioning matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually-
that'd be definitely good.
One cool thing about Hearthstone is like board space. Like Magic never had that issue where you had maximum board space, and it just
Right.
adds a level of complexity of like, okay, what happens with these patrons? What happens with this zoo board? How do I optimize this turn given that I can't go above 7 minions?
It can
I
be so
enjoy
much,
these.
man.
I enjoy these little complexities, just extra
I
ways
mean,
to mess up.
A great example of that, actually, going back to what we were talking about, is Patron. Like, the way I beat Patron nowadays as a control warrior is, yes, there's Brawl, but now that they play the double giant, if you have to use any removal in the mid game, it's like just AoE their patrons, fill up the board, and finish them off. Like, if they literally can't reproduce, to put it that way, you just win. So that's an example where the 7 minion cap matters a ton, because like we have no cards that say, you know, when this card is on the leftmost side of the game, like of the field, it does something, or on the rightmost, or in the center. They could go crazy with that, but they haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it for the questions, and we're going to wrap up the show. Actually, it was great, man. We talked about a lot of things today, so thank you to everybody who wrote questions in, and thanks for everybody that's watching. Zalae, you want to do some shout-outs? Where can people find you?
Just check out my stream, twitch.tv/Zalae, HSZALAEHS.
Okay, awesome. Noxious?
Yeah, do it in sub, because he gives you like a deck review.
That's
for free
right.
If you sub, right? That's
Deck
what he-
Doctor.
You deck
Deck
doctor.
Doctor.
So Zalae's
I'm
gonna
doing
doctor
Deck
your
Doctors once a month right now, so I did mine for this month. Next month, I haven't figured out what date, but like all of my active subs get a free Deck Doctor on that day.
Get on
Awesome.
it. It's
That's
gonna
right.
go away as soon as he gets like 1,000 subs. He can no longer supply the entirety of the Zalae fanboys. But that being said, big shout out to you two guys for being on the show. I think it was a pretty cool one, and Complexity for supporting me, as well as everybody else on it who's doing a great job these days. That's it for me.
All right. And I'll give a shout out to you guys for doing the show with me this week, and big shout out to Tempo Storm and their sponsors for obviously supporting the show. I feel like there's something I was supposed to say. Oh, yeah. So this Monday, guys, at least on Monday, I think. So the ONOG, the One Nation of Gamers and Team Liquid, they're having their tournament over at PAX West. And we're going to do an after the tournament type of thing for Value Town. It'll probably just be like 30 minutes where we get a chance to interview the winner and do something where they kind of throw to us. So we're trying it out with those guys. They were gracious enough to offer that up. So we're going to do it. It's going to be me. We'll see who else, whether one of these guys or not will be with me. But yeah, we'll definitely do something Monday night. It's gonna be late too because that tournament ends super late. So
Yeah, it does.
it'll be like
I would love to
11
be
at
there,
night.
but
Yeah,
I won't be able to attend, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
Maybe,
So-
maybe Zalae can come in. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll figure
knows?
something out. Yeah, so but definitely on Monday, maybe on Sunday, but definitely on Monday. So definitely tune in for that, and yeah, you can check out the VODs on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChanManV. You can follow us on Twitter. It's all on here on the overlays, and then you can tune in, or if you're an audio listener, you can check it out on iTunes and Google Android and Pocket Cast and all the different aggregators. Probably sometime tomorrow afternoon. Oh, one last thing too, for the people that are listening and maybe had issues with their audio streams not updating their feeds, unsub and resub, that usually fixes it. Even if you have it, just unsub and resub really quickly, and then just make sure that everything is up to date, because I was having some issues with iTunes. So definitely do that, and you'll be good for sure. That's going to be